All right, we're here for another Whale Club Hangout. Today we again have Zane from Bitfinex. As always, we have our panel. Drac, a BTC. We have Bjorn from BFX Data, and we want to get right into the details really. And a lot has happened since our last hangout. Specifically, there was a hack at Bitfinex. So, Zane, why don't you take us through kind of the events that surrounded the hack, and then more importantly, what measures you guys have put in place since then to ensure that something like that is limited or doesn't happen again?
All right. Well, as for the details, it's still an ongoing investigation, so what we can put out is limited. But I can kind of talk about what's changed since then, and kind of the unfortunate happenstance that it did occurred at the time it did. When it occurred, we were already working with BitGo to move all the funds to BitGo, including our hot wallet, and it happened. I mean, a couple weeks before we completed the integration. And so when people ask what we've changed, well, we were already working to change the system that we had in place, and now we do have the multi-sig hot wallet in place. I mean, if anybody goes to deposit on Bitfinex, they'll see the address starts with a 3, so it's a multi-sig wallet. But that's the major change that we went ahead and implemented, which was done shortly after the hack. And so now all of our hot wallet funds are kept in multi-sig and stored with BitGo, and that's one of the major changes that we've gone ahead and done.
All right, and we did kind of get some interesting news, and I know AA, if you want to step in here, surrounding like the Bitstamp hack, and there isn't any parallels going on with that. Raphael doesn't like punk rock, does he?
Well, one thing that I think it really does highlight is just the the scrutiny that all the Bitcoin exchanges are always under, and that we're always under attack, and you just have to be very vigilant. And one thing that I thought was interesting is that they were compromised by document files, which I don't think that's a very common attack vector. It's more often zip files or just finding a backdoor. But that's something that we have to be really careful at working at Bitfinex is, be careful of who you're getting emails from, be careful what emails you're opening, be very careful with what you're downloading. And, we've all kind of gone through what security procedures we need to follow. We're all pretty security oriented and security minded, so we're all paying attention to that and trying to avoid any breaches that could come by that. But the other thing, one of the major things that we have to be aware of is who has access to the wallet, and obviously we don't post that publicly, but it's very limited who can actually access those funds. So one thing that they said in the Bitstamp document is that a lot of the files went to people who didn't have access, and they were saying that the guy who did have access, it didn't look like he was the doc files worked on him, like they didn't have a log of him downloading or them accessing outside information. But it just does go to show that having access control on who can access the hot wallet is very important, and that's one thing that with working with BitGo that we keep under pretty high scrutiny and always vigilant about.
Yeah, what struck me about the Bitstamp thing was how much social engineering was involved, I guess, compared to some of the other hacks we've heard of.
Yeah, I mean, they really put in their time to find out, what the Bitstamp employees were like and what attack vectors they could use. I mean, it was pretty thorough.
I also wanted to say, what was the end damage report as far as the hack went on a statistics basis, and what would you tell the users coming out of that after experiencing? Because I know there was certainly a lot of fear and anxiety around that, and luckily you guys were on TeamSpeak, you guys were out on social media, pretty forward and front-worthy about it, and we knew what was going on as close to real time as possible. But what was the end damage report on the hack?
I'm not too certain. I think in the end we lost about $150,000 of BTC was stolen. But I mean, obviously the users didn't face any of that, any of the losses. We covered it all by ourselves. But I mean, to kind of ensure users are comfortable and everything, I think it goes to show how fast we've reacted to things such as the hack. I mean, we were on TeamSpeak, like you said, on TradingView, Reddit, Twitter. But also yesterday, when we went down, I mean, I had already posted on Reddit, Twitter. I was on TeamSpeak and had been on TradingView within 3 minutes of the hack. So we're always online, always willing to talk to customers, and we're always there. So you know, anytime anything goes wrong, we'll be there talking to everybody and making sure everybody knows what's going on and everything's all right. Or sorry, 3 minutes of going down, not hack. That was a brain slip.
Yeah, and you know, just since it's so relevant, that downtime yesterday, I know it was a 502 bad gateway error. I think you guys were down maybe 20 to 30 minutes roughly. Isn't that just a simple reboot of some of the downstream rails and stuff? Can you just take us through, you know, some of
Well,
these
yeah.
downtime issues are becoming a factor.
Um, I don't think it's fair to say that the downtime issues are becoming a factor. I mean, right after we went down, I guess kind of somewhat ironically, Coinbase went down and Huobi both went down. I mean, downtime's something everybody faces. And I mean, OKCoin was down for over a day not that long ago. It's just how fast you can get it fixed. And so yesterday what happened is we got everything booted and up and running again. And that didn't take too long. That was only, I think, 5-10 minutes. But it was just getting it running at full capacity again. And we have redundancy set up, but there were some issues that we're now investigating what went wrong and why the boot up took so long. And an instance of what was going on to get everything back running at full speed, or an example is a lot of users could get in like 20 minutes afterwards, but a lot of people couldn't get in up to like 45 minutes afterwards. But you could see the trades were going through, you know, within 15 minutes. So we did get everything up and running again. It just took some time. When we were rebooting, we ran into some other issues with kind of the way we had it set up, and some of the monitoring tools and everything. That's what we're investigating now. The downtime or the server going down, I think that's just an issue that you're going to run into at some point. I think it's more of the recovery process that's the important part, and it just didn't handle itself very gracefully. But that's what we're looking into right now is why the recovery process took so long and how we can improve on that.
Yeah, I mean, those quality assurance issues are always going to be very prevalent, very, you know, important to the traders because downtime is correlated with lost money or potential money or anything like that. So I think that's something we really demand in the 24/7 market is to make sure those things are as sound as possible. So now that we've gotten the we put the hack aside. I think you guys are moving forward from that with the BitGo integration and such. Let's talk about what's going on with AlphaPoint. I know there's testing going on and off. There's rumors of quote crossing the books. There's the WebSocket. Let's go down that path.
All right. Well, the crossing the books isn't happening. I can just go ahead and kind of shoot that in the foot. We're not using the AlphaPoint trade engine at this time. So when we go live, we'll go live on AlphaPoint. Until then, we're using the Bitfinex trading engine. But where we are now, there actually isn't too much more testing that needs to be done. The testing isn't the main issue right now. It's just making sure everything in the back end is set up. And we have a couple other, I wouldn't say really issues or anything. We're just ironing out the last few details. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we did a 10-day countdown on testing to make sure. We just basically said if anything goes wrong in these 10 days, then we'll need to restart that. And those 10 days went by without any problems, and there weren't any issues. So the AlphaPoint engine is running, and there's no problems with its matching. We're just making sure that the integration with our systems are complete and everything's ready to go live.
Yeah, because my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll bring in AA or Drac here. So you're basically trying to kind of retrofit the front end of Bitfinex onto the back end of what AlphaPoint has produced for you, and that's really, the stage we are now is going through the quality assurance and making sure that that is running properly before you go live. Is that correct?
No, not entirely. We're not retrofitting AlphaPoint's back end to our front end. We're still using our back end. It's just that we're using their trading engine. There are a lot of things that need to fit into our back end from their trading engine. So it isn't like we'll be using the AlphaPoint backend and then the Bitfinex front end. We'll be using the AlphaPoint matching engine and perhaps some of their APIs, but we won't be using their complete backend, no.
All right, I want to bring in Drac here because I think some of these concerns I can voice, but maybe he can voice some of them better. Drac, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, go for it.
We just lost Drac. Well, anyways, so all right, yeah. I think more than anything, we just most of us just want to see the integration complete and the functionality be at a much higher level. Because I think there's uncertainty around the exchange performance, which is something as a trader, it's a hard, I can assess risk as where my stop loss is and stuff, but if the exchange has, issues itself, it's hard for me to trade around that. Do you understand why that's such a big deal for us traders to get right?
Yeah, the trading engine is kind of the heart of the exchange. So if that malfunctions, kind of everything runs into problems, and it's very hard to assess risk when you don't know if the trading engine is going to lag or not. So we completely understand where the worry is, but nobody wants to get this AlphaPoint integration done faster than we do, and we just need to make sure that when we launch it, there are literally zero issues, because any issues can be serious problems. And so with the integration, we're getting there. It's just a very delicate process, and when we get it done, there will be massive leaps in performance improvements.
Do you guys have a projected time for? Is it months away or?
No.
Year?
Like I said, we've already completed our countdown for testing, and the matching engine's fine. So that's kind of what took a long time, is getting the matching engine to where it worked with our system, and making sure that we weren't having issues with it matching our orders and everything like that. And so after the 10-day countdown, we're confident that the matching engine isn't going to malfunction or underperform or anything like that. That's what the 10-day window is for. And we've already completed that. So now that isn't really the issue. It's just we're literally in the final steps of getting it complete with our backend and then launching it.
All right, and as we start to kind of pivot here away from the AlphaPoint and talk about kind of the future products and such, what is the Tether integration, and is it getting a lot of usage right now? As we talk about these other products that you guys have to offer and hopefully will offer in the future.
So Tether, I did have somebody contact me yesterday about kind of implementing Tether with the other exchanges, and I've talked to some of the people from the Chinese exchanges about implementing Tether, but so far there hasn't been, it hasn't been anything wowing or anything like that. But I think it's something that'll come to be very useful when people want to do arbitrage, because it'll basically provide instant fiat transfers. So it is something that we think of it as a big feature that we currently allow. And I know one of our users the other day transferred quite a bit of money using Tether just due to the speed of it. And they were also talking to other exchanges, seeing if they could add it. So it is in the process of building, and it is something that we want to see continue to build. But I don't have figures on how much usage there is, but it isn't. I'd say right now it's in the very, very early stages.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of it. It's something that's very intriguing to me, and kind of like you say, there needs to be a critical mass of seeing other exchanges utilizing it, and then there'll be a lot more value in it of itself as a product and such like that. Now, I know some of the criticisms where there's this very heavy KYC process, like even asking for like Q1 income statements or something like that. Is there anything surrounding that as an issue too, especially if you're talking to some of the exchanges that might not want to reveal that information?
Well, basically, people need to think of it as pretty much fiat, and it acts a lot like fiat. So we're going to need the compliance that we need for fiat, but it's instant. And so it's basically like souped up wire transfers that are verifiable and have all the benefits of crypto. But we are going to need to do verification on it. And one thing that we could look into, if you guys want, is we could see if the Tether team wants to do a hangout, and because they obviously know better than I do on a lot of that, on a lot of this information. But yeah, I think the best way to think about it is fiat that has all the advantages of crypto, but it still has the verification side that needs to be done with traditional fiat.
So is the verification with that gonna, I guess, kind of seep into the rest of the Bitfinex experience, or will it just be limited just to things like Wire and Tether?
Well, think of the verification right now. What we require for Tether and the Wire are the same. We don't require verification for Bitcoin or any of that because that's in its essence crypto, while Tether in its essence is like a crypto hybrid. And so they're really different products, and the verification requirements for them will be different. So I wouldn't say it's fair to say that just because Tether has these requirements that we're gonna bring those on to the other crypto offerings.
So there's no plans for that.
To force verification onto all of our users?
Yeah.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I actually I hear ABTC's concerns here, as we've done a lot of hangouts with people that are domestic exchanges and such, and I've talked a lot with Phil about this specific matter, and it's really an interesting issue going forward. And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but I think you guys have set a standard. Seems to be all right now. It's just kind of a question of, will larger regulatory bodies see it that way, or will they want full KYC AML going forward? That's kind of from a competitive standpoint, and I've really harped on some of those domestic exchanges that all this friction with KYC and limiting the user experience is a large component of seeing why so much of the volume of BTC volume is offshore. So I mean, I'm not really asking to go deep into that because it's speculative in and of itself. But
Yeah.
I think it's one of the big reasons Bitfinex has been very successful is they haven't gone down that path of collecting Bitcoin side user data essentially.
I mean, right now what we're doing is we're following the regulations that we need to and making sure that we're in line with what regulators require. If that changes down the line, we might have to adapt, but for the time being, we're doing what we need to do. I mean, BitLicense is interesting, and we're definitely thinking about how we're going to respond to that. But one possibility is that New York users, we're not going to be able to have New York users on Bitfinex. That is one thing that's a possibility.
Nice. I like that.
I mean, they're kind of pushing you into a corner. So I'm not really sure what other options there are, but that isn't verification side of things isn't really my forte either. So we're obviously paying attention to what the developments are, but
No,
yeah,
it's
I mean
just nice to see a company, because there are so few of them who are, you know, unwilling to be pushed around by default. You know, the likes of Coinbase are just kind of like, oh, you want regulation? Okay, you know, what can we do for you? You know, let's even do more than whatever you want. You know, and companies like Shapeshifter, Bitfinex are very much on the other side of the fence of like, yeah, we're willing to comply, but we're willing to comply as is necessary, not, you know.
well, one thing that
We're also, and you're also not willing to just sort of pre-frame everything in the, oh well, we need to be, you know, on that side, on the regulation side.
I mean, one thing that I really attracted me about Bitfinex and was a large part of me coming here is kind of just the way the company works. I mean, at its heart, it's a Bitcoin company. We're decentralized. We don't really have a central office. We have people all over the world. When I asked to get my payment in Bitcoin, yeah, no problem. They obviously hold users' privacy very high and very high regard. And these are all things that I really like. And so, I mean, we're going to try and protect our users' privacy to the extent that we can. And yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it's one thing that I've never lacked praise in for Bitfinex. As much as we get on you about some of the performance issues and stuff like that, I mean, you still have the user base, you're still doing a tremendous amount of things right, and this is one thing that's extremely important to me. I know Drac is reiterating that, and AABTC as well, is this, you know, you guys have really stepped up in that game where other companies have taken a different approach. And I mean, as the field stands today, you guys are successful in it. But I mean, with that being said, let's talk about some of the competitive products going forward. I know AA just mentioned this. Is Darkcoin ever going to have margin?
Well, one thing that you just have to be able to deal with margin is the liquidity. And for the time being, Darkcoin just doesn't have the liquidity to allow margin. I don't know if you guys saw it, but BitAssets the other day was talking about how basically he was saying that our swaps market was being manipulated, our LTC swaps market was being manipulated because somebody reserved swaps up to like 0.7% a day or something like that. And he was saying that if you guys don't have liquidity, you shouldn't have LTC. And whether or not I agree with him that the open market should be able to react however it does, he did kind of have a point that liquidity is needed. And with Darkcoin, I mean, it would just be toyed with. It just doesn't have the liquidity at this time to be able to kind of afford the margin that users would trade on. So we don't have any plans to add margin trading to Darkcoin now.
Do you have any plans
or
to
Dash
get rid
or
of?
whatever you want to call it?
Do you have any plans to get rid of Darkcoin Dash? Because I mean, remember a few months ago, Phil was really indicating that he seemed pretty fed up of having the coin on the exchange and wanted it off.
As far as I'm aware right now, nothing's changing with Darkcoin or Dash, whatever you want to call it. Mm. I just don't, right now. I just don't think it's at the top of our priority list.
Right. I mean, it seemed more that Phil was just, there were other things like the whole AlphaPoint integration and all this other stuff you want to do was more important than delisting Dash.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, right now we're focused on AlphaPoint. We're focused on UI, UE updates. We're focused on a bunch of other things, and I think Darkcoin will benefit, or Dash. Damn it, I keep messing those up. But I think Dash will benefit from, or the Dash trading will benefit from a lot of the other things we're doing. So we'll focus on what benefits BTC the most, and I think the ripple effects of that, if they're seen on the other alts, is good. But that's not our primary focus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to circle back to the swaps market in a bit here, but as long as we're on the new product front, we kind of talked a little bit before the Hangout started. We see other exchanges doing kind of like the Shanghai index. They're doing kind of CFD-related products. We talked about One Broker and what they're doing with Forex. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And then just kind of also just product development in general for Bitfinex as far as a vision goes?
Well, I think adding the Shanghai Composite, I don't think that was really I think really the reason why that happened was the Chinese exchanges, or I think Huobi, I don't know if OKCoin has that offer right now, but I think they were losing a lot of users due to the Shanghai Composite Index just skyrocketing in value, and so people were saying, why trade Bitcoin when I can go there and it's up like 120% over the past 6 months. And so basically it was them trying to cut in on that action while retaining users. I don't really think that's going to be a long-term product or anything like that. I think it was more for the short term to kind of cut the blood loss. As for a lot of the other products, I think the main one that we want to do when we get done with AlphaPoint is we're going to be looking towards options. That's one that we've stated before that we want to do. And I think that's going to be our next big product offering is options. So we're still exploring how to do this and working towards doing it, but you know it's not a small endeavor. I mean, when I was at OKCoin, they put in a lot of time before they had the futures platform ready to go.
All right, let's now turn our focus to the swap market. I mean, we have Bjorn here, and we'll bring him in momentarily from BFX Data. But you know, some of just kind of like even housekeeping stuff. Are you guys gonna have an option for like reallocation, so clients don't have to use third-party bots, or is that something outside of your purview?
When you say reallocation, you mean so that people that are lending bitcoins can go ahead and offload their swap to other people, or just basically put it on the market?
I think, do you have some more insight here?
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, people have written bots for, okay, how do you put this? I guess for a lot of people, what they do is they just take a margin position. They don't bother reserving any swaps, right? And I guess that could be suboptimal. And I mean, we're wondering if instead of people going out to get these bots, maybe Bitfinex would be able to just have it in their system where it would just cycle through and use whatever the most efficient market price is.
So I'll just kind of give you a slight overview of what's going on with swaps. This is something we talked about last week in our weekly meeting, that we want to do kind of just a complete overhaul of our swaps and improve it on a whole bunch of different fronts. And so one thing that I wanted to talk about in this hangout is get some ideas from you guys on what you want to see, and we can add that to the list of improvements. But there's a bunch of stuff that we want to do with swaps. We want to improve how the FFR is calculated. We want to be able to I know a lot of users have asked basically to turn it more into like a open market, where if I've provided a swap, I can go ahead and offload it. And if there's anybody on a market with a matching swap offer, then they can go ahead and pick up my swap, and I'll be able to get out of it. There's a whole bunch of features that we want to add to it. So if you guys could just send me an email or message me wherever, do it on Reddit, any medium is fine, and tell me what you guys want to see from the swaps market. We can add it, but basically to answer your question, yes, we are actively working towards improving the swaps market. We want to do kind of a complete overhaul of the swaps and add a whole bunch of new features.
Yeah. Sorry. You want to go ahead, Dick?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we do have Bjorn here from BFX Data, and I think a lot of us didn't really understand, just until he put it in the visual form on the site that he has. We didn't really see some of the we didn't see some of the things that would come of it until we saw it in visual form. So I know, between Zane, Bitfinex, Bjorn, and TradingView, you guys have been talking about possibly listing, that product on TradingView. But I guess I kind of want to bring in Bjorn here and get his perspective as far as maybe some of the things he really wants to see, because until he showed us it, we didn't know what we wanted to see. So, so Bjorn, what do you have as far as input goes from the swap market? Because you're kind of that's your specialty.
Yeah, well, I can see when a swap is opened, and I can see the total number of swaps that are active. But for instance, I cannot see when a swap is closed, and I cannot distinguish between, for instance, if someone opens a US dollar swap, I can't tell if that swap is being used to open a Bitcoin position or a Litecoin position. So those sort of things would be quite interesting to be able to implement.
I agree with that.
And what also would be really nice to be able to do, I think, but I've never actively asked the team about it, but to be able to see what if a swap is taken, if it'll actually be used for trading or just to reserve. So a chance to have an option to be able to see what trades are actually made on margin and what trades are exchange orders. That would be really interesting, I think, to be able to visualize.
Zane?
I mean, Bjorn has a lot of good ideas on how he can better help traders with data visualization from the swaps market, and conveniently he can play a large part of getting that implemented on our side. So I mean, we'll have all that added to the to-do list and work on it on the overhaul.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see any of the interaction that went on. Were Konstantin and Bjorn able to talk, from TradingView? And is that a synergistic relationship, or I'm not sure if I'm asking it the right way. Like, is that something good for you guys in the long run, or no?
Well, I'm not sure at the moment. I got the contact you guys shared with me, and I contacted Konstantin to discuss this, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So at this moment, I just don't know how and if we will go forward from here.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll talk to Konstantin some more as well. And going forward with some of the things that you suggest too, those are all pieces of data that even I may not know how to use them or utilize them, but some people are very good at sifting through that data and finding points that align with at least their narrative of their current position. So.
Yeah, I think Zane was. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say towards Vic's asking if that's a synergistic relationship. I think pretty much the more places that we can have that data, the better. I mean, there might be traders that don't know about BFX data, and once they see it on TradingView, then they might go to BFX data to see more information, because I don't think they'd be able to put all the info that Bjorn has on BFX data onto TradingView. So I think it'd just give him more exposure. It'd be good both ways.
Yeah, I think so as well. So I'm willing to look into this with them and see what we can work out. And basically, when I first started BFX data, I started it because there was no visualization for the things I've built. So if other places are becoming available, like TradingView, well, I'm the first to agree that they put together a really great platform. And if some of the things that I've built can be implemented in TradingView, then sure, why not?
Awesome. AA, did you have something to add there?
Oh yeah. Going back to what Zane was saying earlier about the manipulation, I think a lot of this stuff would help as well. You know, being able to tell if swaps are, just reserved just to push the swap market in a certain direction, or.
I'd like to interject. There is a statistic on the market stats page which says the amount of swaps that are taken out versus the amount which are actually active in a position.
Yeah, I know, and I wanted to include it in the BFX data pages. I actually asked the team to include it into the API, and it has been included, but it's not live at the moment, I think. But then we only know for it's a granularity of 1 hour at the moment, so we only know it well after the fact, basically, because the data is only updated once an hour, and it would be nice to be able to have some real-time data, I think. So the statistic is available for the total swaps provided, but it's only once an hour, and it would be nice to be able to distinguish between single swaps and trades.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point to bring in like granularity to the swap market. I wasn't even aware that it's only once an hour. I know I'd look at that chart, but yeah, a more closer to real time if possible, as well as just differentiating, the U.S. dollar market, what is going towards buying Bitcoin, what's going towards buying Litecoin. I think those are very important statistics.
Yeah,
the other thing too is, sorry, earlier we were still talking about the swap market manipulation. I guess a lot of this would, well, it wouldn't stop the manipulation, but it'll make it a more level playing field, more transparent. I think also the issue earlier, I think maybe a better example is you mentioned how somebody went in and reserved a bunch of Litecoin swaps and pushed the rate up to like 0.7%, right? And there would be people that would just, they would just take a position and automatically take the 0.7% and leave it in for days, right, and just forget about it. I guess with the bot thing I was mentioning earlier, maybe like Bitfinex would have a way to optimize that, just kind of cycle through it to the market price. I think that would probably be a simpler way to visualize it for a lot of the listeners.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That's not a bad idea. We can look into that as well. I think the other idea that we've been kind of mulling over for how to prevent manipulation is kind of build a system that allows for market making on the swaps market. And that way, if somebody wants to buy it up, there will be a market maker that can go ahead and kind of make money off of that person trying to manipulate the data, and it obviously, or manipulate the market, and it obviously caused the manipulator to spend way more money than it is right now.
Yeah, I think that's like twofold as far as being able to put those things in place, and we're moving towards that with the exploration of all the data that we're finding out of the swaps market, because it's something I think initially people didn't put much thought into, and we're seeing, just like yesterday where we had that 0.7% rate up there for a while. I know I tweeted about it. It was only a couple, maybe an hour and a half that people had already backfilled that. Now that's still a long time, but I mean people are aware of it and they say, wow, that rate's really high. Well, put it at 0.6, 5, and down it goes and it backfills and we're back to, kind of a normal market per se. So,
which was kind of what my original response to BFX data was, which is just, I mean, that's the way a market works. If the price is pushed up like that, then we can go ahead and have people push it back down because they realize that they can make money if they just go a little bit lower. And so just kind of the open market ironing itself out. However, we realize the open market also does have its faults, and we will need to improve to kind of help protect against those faults.
Yeah, we just essentially righted it in a open outcry market via Twitter and TradingView. I mean, we were putting up really huge asks there, and people said, "Well, I can come in and take that." So let's move forward, though. There's been some concerns lately on Reddit as far as the payment structure of the payouts for swaps changing every other day, or people are getting underpaid. I've seen a bunch of posts there. Can you just kind of address what's going on there?
Yeah, so we're still looking into why the underpayment was happening. We do believe that we've had it fixed, but we also thought that about a week ago, and it turned out that there was still an issue with it. So I think the issue right now is ongoing. But I mean, we can assure everybody that if you've been underpaid, we will get it sorted out, and I mean, we'll fix the issue. But right now, I don't think I have an update besides what I posted on Reddit. And the other thing to remember is that generally with issues like this, you have a very vocal minority. The majority of the users aren't affected. It's just that those who are obviously kind of worried, hey, why aren't I getting my money? And so they tend to be pretty vocal about it. But we're looking into getting it fixed, and anybody who's been affected will be righted.
All right, good. Yeah, I certainly understand that the vocal minority. I mean, they do have a good point, but usually a very small amount of people affected there.
I mean, I'm not saying quit whining or whatever. I understand your plight, and we're working to fix it. It's just remember with a lot of these things that it isn't affecting everybody, and a lot of users remain unaffected, but those who are affected generally tend to be louder because they're facing issues.
Gotcha.
And if anybody is having issues with their underpaid swaps, please contact support. It'll make it a lot easier for us to get it fixed.
All right. I know we have a little time left as we approach our 1 hour mark that I like to keep these to. Is there any stance that Bitfinex has come out on the block size debate?
I don't think we have an official stance, but I mean, I do think that there is an obvious, things need to happen, stuff needs to change or get done, but I also do think it's a little ridiculous the way that people treat Blockstream. Like, you guys are just purposely saying and manipulating the market so that you can profit. I mean, these guys have been working on Bitcoin for a long time. It's not like they popped up out of nowhere and all of a sudden started trying to push everybody around. I think that they honestly do hold Bitcoin's best interest at hearts, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it's worked out. But I think that the people that are working on it are all very, very bright, and I'm confident in their ability to get it fixed.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about Blockstream too, because I mean, it's all just people are playing a politic. Because now a number of the developers are being paid from one entity, then they're able to kind of use that as a political wangling point. But the really interesting thing is the people who are at Blockstream, all of them have a history going back to like 2011 where they have held the same view. So it's very difficult to actually, take
exactly
Blockstream kind of rhetoric seriously.
But the other thing that I find pretty funny is that when the idea for sidechains came out, people were losing their minds. Oh my God, this is the best idea ever. This is going to change the game. And now when people talk about sidechains, it's like, you're just a blockchain or Blockstream shill trying to promote your own agenda for your own profit. I mean, how quick things changed.
Exactly. And the hilarious thing about that is sidechains do not address scalability at all. So, in fact, it makes no sense that that would. I mean, again, it's just all political wangling.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm on Art Bitcoin all the time. I'm a Art Bitcoiner, but I think the way that people treat the head devs there, and I think it's also kind of funny how we get these people that we've put in power to work on Bitcoin because they are so knowledgeable about this area, and then they come out with proposals on our Bitcoin. People go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's like, I don't know. These people are very smart. They've put time towards this, and this isn't just thrown together and scrapped together. So whatever they do decide to go with, I have full faith that they've made a strong and thoughtful and well thought out decision.
All right. Something, just a little tag on that. What's been very interesting about the debate, some, like the Chinese miners did get involved on the development list, and they were explaining, they were contributing from a technical standpoint, explaining what an increase would mean, and very much contributing into that debate. And that was very much spun to, look, the Chinese miners support Gavin's, proposal. When in fact they weren't actually saying that. They were saying that, if in principle, by consensus, we would accept an increase in blocks. But these are the difficulties. But what they weren't saying is that, yes, pitchforks raised, we're going to have a civil war, and contribute to, to that. And I think that was quite an interesting, development of that. And there's certainly no harm for big players like yourself getting involved, and I would encourage you guys to actually get involved in the technical debates.
That's one thing that I can talk with the team and we can consider. But I would also like to reiterate that everything that I'm saying is my own personal opinion. This is not the opinion of Bitfinex. This is me.
Yeah, and let's not get too far into the weeds of the block size debate because we could go on for hours about that. But I kind of want to wrap it up here. Zane, what do you got on kind of the the future front for Bitfinex that you want to share with us before we go?
Alright, so right now the main thing that we're doing is we're going over the site and making a bunch of UI UX changes. I think over the next coming probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you guys will see a lot of changes made that'll make the site a lot better to use. It'll make it look a lot cleaner, and I think overall users will be really happy with it. And then in addition to that is a lot more security features. As a Bitcoin exchange, we deal with a lot of account users getting attacked and people trying to steal money, and this is just a daily occurrence for all Bitcoin exchanges. And so I think that building a very secure platform that gives users tons of tools to prevent malicious actors is very important, and that's something that we're working very diligently towards, is making sure users have all the tools they need to protect themselves. And I think over the coming days you'll be seeing some more strides in that regard. And for instance, we just added the email notifications for when people log in, and PTC Drax said that we should also look into SMS notifications. So that's one thing that we're currently doing to see if we can notify our users via SMS every time their account is accessed. And we're looking into customized withdrawal codes, tamper-proof pages, a whole slew of different features. So hopefully we'll have some of those start to pop up over the coming weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know we spoke a little bit before the Hangout. Is there any plans in the pipeline for a mobile app or anything like that? I think Drac has experience with the Z Trader and likes that, but anything not third-party?
A mobile app is something we want to do, but I don't think it's on the highest. It's not the highest priority that we currently have. For the time being, we're going to focus on maximizing the usability of our mobile site. But an app is something that we do have on our wish list, and it is something that I think after we get a lot of these UI and UE changes done, that will also help the mobile site. And the AlphaPoint integration will free up a lot of dev time to work on something like an app. So I'd say that's something that we can look towards maybe after AlphaPoint and after a lot of the UI UE changes get through, but it's not at the top of our wish list right now.
Fair enough. I'm just going to go down the panel if they have any last minute questions or comments. BTC, any closing thoughts?
No, I'm pretty happy with the answers about the swap market. I mean, that was most of my concern for this.
All right, and then Bjorn over at BFX Data, do you have any closing comments?
No, not really.
Thanks for coming, Bjorn.
Yeah, no problem.
And Drac?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for coming on, Zane. Hopefully we'll continue to do this on a monthly basis as progress continues on Bitfinex, and
Yeah, definitely.
meet the trader demands. Go ahead, Zane.
One last thing that I was going to say is on the swaps for BTC, if you guys have anything you want to see, please get in touch with us and let us know. That way we can look into having it added. And then for security features, if there's anything that you guys would like to see in terms of security, or I mean really anything, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. I'm on there pretty much all the time, or on Reddit. I hop into TeamSpeak every so often, and just let us know, and we'll look into fixing it or getting it done.
Actually, I noticed something new lately. Bitfinex never used to ask me for confirmations for withdrawals.
Do you mean from for when you withdraw every time you're getting a confirmation, or?
Yeah. Every time. Like before, I never got those.
Yeah, you can
What
turn
we
that off in the admin now, in the security
Yeah,
area.
yeah. So if you go to the settings, you'll see that there's a setting for email confirmation every time the IP withdrawal changes or the IP address changes. Or you could just turn off email confirmations as well, because I don't know what your settings are. But you can change your settings to suit you in the settings page and security page.
I will say it does help, if you're making a lot of these changes to not just, I think you're talking about doing a change log, but also just kind of you need to train the user on using some of those products and understand, if you have one Bitcoin there, maybe you don't want to go the full Monty with security, but if you have a lot there, maybe you do. You just got to, it's up to the user what they have as far as to pick from, but you need to train them on, what does this do, what's the function it serves, and such like that.
Yeah, like Drax said, we're working on a blog, and once we get that up, we'll have guides and kind of be able to disseminate information better and more tailored for users that way.
All right, so for me, BTC Vix, guest panel, AABTC, Bjorn from BFX Data, and Drac. Thanks for coming, Zane. Talk to you later.